Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Masato Takasaka. I'm filling in for David Sequeira, who couldn't be here today, to deliver this very special Art Forum Extra on a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday, yes, Wednesday afternoon, lunchtime. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Agnieszka Polska from who currently resides in Berlin. But before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land that we are Zooming from today, and those of you in the live audience. I'd like to acknowledge the lands of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. I also acknowledge that this land has never been ceded. I'd also like to extend this acknowledgement to our First Nations and Torres Strait Islander students who are in the audience today and in the Zoom universe, as well as the First Nations and Torres Strait Islander staff that we have here at the university and on this campus. I'd like to, it gives me great pleasure, it's a great privilege and pleasure to introduce to you all Agnieszka Polska, who is one of our Stuart Black Drawing Fellows for 2025. And I'm just going to quickly find the biography, courtesy of Alex and Agnieszka. Agnieszka Polska, born 1985, Lublin, Poland, is a visual artist and film director based in Berlin. Polska employs computer-generated media to explore themes of individual agency, social responsibility, and the shaping of historical narratives within environments driven by rapid technological change and the flow of information. Her work bridges the past and the digital present using hallucinatory animations, poetic storytelling to delve into the ethical ambiguities of contemporary society today. Polska's art has been showcased internationally at the New Museum and Museum of Modern Art in New York, Centre Pompidou in Paris, Tate Modern in London, and the Hirshhorn Museum in Washington, D.C. She has held solo exhibitions at Hamburger Bahnhof in Berlin, the Museum of Modern Art in Warsaw, MHKA in Antwerp, Frye Art Museum in Seattle, Nottingham Contemporary in the UK, and Salzburger Kunstverein. She also has participated in several biennales, including the 57th Venice Biennale, 11th Guangzhou Biennale, 19th and the 24th Biennale of Sydney, and the 14th Shanghai Biennale, and the 13th Istanbul Biennale. In 2017, she was also awarded the Prix de National Gallery, which is the premier prize for film in contemporary art. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Agnieszka. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, do that one. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I would like to acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the traditional owners of this land and pay respect to elders. So, as you already know from this introduction, my name is Agnieszka Polska, and I'm a visual artist and a film director based in Berlin. Yeah, I'm just thinking what I can add to this very good introduction. As you have heard in my work, I'm very much interested in the themes of social responsibility of an individual, and especially in the context of shaping of historical narratives. In the context of our environments that are driven by rapid technological changes. My films often take form of digital animations, often presented as large-scale installations that are narrative in their character. I also work with actors, often blending their performances with animated characters or elements. Alongside my artistic work, I'm developing as a film writer and director with a feature debut and stage debuts that I did last year. And in this talk, I would like to present one or two of my recent films, as well as talk about the philosophy behind my work. So I won't be really talking about the themes that interest me or how I produce my films, but rather about the reason why I do it. Why at a time like now, in the catastrophic, inhuman times, shall we make art? When it is difficult to find a belief in art making, when it's difficult not to see art either as irrelevant, decorative object of speculation, or as a hypocrite act dressed to look like a political statement, why shall we still make art? As young artists, you may have asked yourself the same question. It is a question I keep asking myself, and over the years, I established my own private theory of justifying being an artist and a storyteller, especially a storyteller, which I would like to share with you today. Standing too close to the great challenges that have already taken place or are beginning to, and without a glimmering of the future that is being shaped, we ourselves are at a loss as to the significance of the impressions which press upon us and as to the value of the judgments which we form. Contrary to what you may think, the above quote is not contemporary. It comes from Sigmund Freud's essay, Thoughts for the Times on War and Death, written at the outset of the First World War. It feels like our temporality gave way to repeat the occurrences of the past, confused and bewildered by the upcoming technological intelligence explosion. We are torn between a rapid militarization, multiple wars, the genocide in Gaza, and democracy replaced by techno-oligarchy. The paragraph from Freud is the quote that British psychoanalyst and writer Christopher Bolas uses to open his essay, Psychoanalysis in the Age of Bewilderment. The essay was presented 10 years ago at a conference addressing a widely discussed issue in psychiatry, the global crisis of abstract thinking. As a psychoanalyst, Bolas proposes several causes for this catastrophic shift in human consciousness. He points to a set of processes he names operationalism, horizontalism, homogenization, pseudo-stupidity, adaptive behaviors developed to cope with the loss of future and the disorientation encountered in technologized environments. This adaptation requires replacing individual judgment with instructions, enforcing productivity at the cost of reflection, and promoting quick, pre-existing solutions in mental health care, which may help explain why antidepressants are prescribed so commonly. According to Bolas, these processes lead to psychophobia, an aversion to thinking, and a fear of the mind, a global loss of the capacity for abstract thought. Human thought processes begin to narrow into the mere execution of commands, while artificial intelligence increasingly assumes creative functions. Growing psychophobia is related to the dramatic changes taking place in the technosphere. The events of recent years have led to a situation in which modern humans are facing a profound crisis of identity caused by the loss of their cognitive leadership position to artificial intelligence. Here is what philosopher Hugh Huey writes about this problem in his essay published last year, ChatGPT or the Eschatology of Machines. Human beings were not upset when domesticated animals, such as horses and cows, replaced them as providers of energy. They instead welcomed the relief from repetitive and tiresome labor. The same happened when steam engines replaced animals. They were even more efficient and required even less human attention. Artisans before the industrial age were able to create an associated milieu in which the artisan's body and intelligence compensated for their simple tools' lack of autonomy. In the era of information machines or cybernetic machines, the machine itself becomes the organizer of information and the human is no longer at the center, even if they still consider themselves the commander of machines and organizer of information. This is the moment when the human suffers from their own stereotypical beliefs about machines. They falsely identify themselves as the center, and in so doing, they face constant frustration and a panic search for identity. But we are here to talk about art. Is it possible that art could ease the doomed search for lost identity? In what sense can poetry, art, and culture be the saviors of humanity? Two disciplines may help us answer: cybernetics and economics. Cybernetics, as you may know, is a science invented in the 1940s. In 1948, Norbert Wiener defined cybernetics as the science of control and communication in animals and machines. Stafford Beer, a later cyberneticist, defined it as the science of organization. Cybernetics studies the flow of information around the system and the way in which this information is used by the system as a means of controlling itself. It does this for animate and inanimate systems indifferently. For cybernetics is an interdisciplinary science owing as much to biology as to physics, as much to the study of the brain as to the study of computers, and owing also a great deal to the formal languages of science for providing tools with which the behavior of all these systems can be objectively described. Cybernetics widely uses the term recursive system. The opposite of a recursive system is a mechanical one. And an example of a mechanical system is a clock. A mechanical system operates according to predetermined rules. It does not creatively process feedback or alter its structure. A random disruption, such as throwing a clock off a cliff, will simply break it. Human societies are not mechanical systems, but recursive ones. A recursive system redefines itself. It processes feedback and adjusts its behavior based on previous experiences. This means an unexpected environmental change might lead not to a collapse, but to adaptation. Right now, humanity is facing being thrown over the cliff, just like our poor clock. But for our species, such occurrence might come not with annihilation, but a redefinition of what it means to be human. Again, Yuk Hui writes, recursivity is not mere mechanical repetition. It is characterized by the looping movement of returning to itself in order to determine itself, while every movement is open to contingency, which in turn determines its singularity. We can imagine a spiral form in its every circular movement, which determines its becoming partially from the past circular movements, which still extend their effects as ideas and impressions. This image corresponds to the soul. What is called the soul is the capacity of coming back to itself in order to know itself and determine itself. Every time it departs from itself, it actualizes its own reflection in traces, which we call memory. Now that we know of the importance of recursive exchange regulating our societies, we may want to ask ourselves, how can we participate in these healing, regulating processes that perpetually redefine what it means to be human? In our societies, what mobilizes recursive information flow, and with it change, is affect and the circulation of emotion. According to sociologist Sarah Ahmed, emotions circulating in society act as a form of capital. This means emotions are subject to the same laws of economics as capital. They can be stored, accumulated, made liquid, and invested. In affective economies, emotions do things, and they align individuals with communities, or bodily space with social space, through the very intensity of their attachments. Rather than seeing emotions as psychological dispositions, we need to consider how they work in concrete and particular ways to mediate the relationship between the psychic and the social, and between the individual and the collective. The power of emotional world shaping can be learned from the observation of how storytelling affected our societies in the past. Storytelling, a tool strictly bound to affective circulation, have been among the main factors shaping human and non-human environments for millennia. Let us begin by pointing out the durability of the storytelling medium itself. Oral history is the most durable information storage technology ever invented by humankind. Nothing can compare to it. No ancient or modern methods of data recording, whether carving in stone, printing, or electromagnetic recording, is as durable as oral storytelling, because the oldest stories still in circulation are thousands of years old. In his book, Edge of Memory, Patrick Nunn describes a climbing expedition in Western Oregon in the USA, during which the indigenous people refused to accompany the European colonizers on their way up the hill, because according to traditional oral mythology, a fire-breathing creature that throws burning stones lives on top of it. As geologists have determined, the last eruption of this now dormant volcano took place 5,000 years before our era, and the story of this event has survived in the form of a myth for 7,000 years. Such durability of a story means that its existence becomes solid and can affect whole ecologies like a solid body. We don't need to look very far for a proof. Australian Aboriginal songlines are examples of stories, poems, with a profound impact on human settlement and the natural environment. Some research suggests that several plant species began producing seeds only under the influence of fire, during regular burnings controlled by the information contained in the songs. We can therefore speak here of the phenomenon of the transformation of the ecological system through poetic storytelling and through affective signals contained in each song. In his book, Briefing, Chaos and Poetry, Franco Berardi writes about poetry, which he understands in a more wide scope as a poetic function of language and image. I cannot say what poetry is, because actually poetry is nothing. I can only try to say what poetry does. The act of composing signals, visual, linguistic, musical, and so on, may disclose a space of meaning that is neither pre-existent in nature or based on a social convention. The poetical act is the emanation of a semiotic flow that sheds a light of non-conventional meaning on the existing world. The poetical act is a semiotic excess, hinting beyond the limit of conventional meaning, and simultaneously it is a revelation of a possible sphere of experience not yet experienced, that is to say, the experienceable. It acts on the limit between the conscious and the unconscious in such a way that this limit is displaced and parts of the unconscious landscape of what Freud called the inner foreign country are illuminated or distorted and resignified. Berardi concludes, money and language have something in common. They are nothing and yet affect everything. They are nothing but symbols, conventions, flatus vocis, yet they have the power to persuade human beings to act, to work, and to transport physical things. Language, like the money, is nothing. Yet, like money, language can do anything. Language and money are shaping our future in many ways. They are prophetic. Only a surrender to poetry, understood as the mysterious spiritual essence of every cultural object, can protect us from this dramatic transformation in what we might call planetary human consciousness. Finally, we arrive at the true importance of artworks and cultural objects in society. Because what is a cultural object if not a unit of stored emotions? It is artists and storytellers and poets who possess the most important tool for transformation, capable of reshaping entire societies by redefining them within their recursive cycles. Empathy, love, fear, hatred. These are the emotions embedded in visual art, text, music, film. These are the real regulators of the system we inhabit. But again, if we truly want to be faithful to our recursive cycles of redefining our human soul, we should never stop asking, why am I making art? And maybe this continuous doubt lies at the core of a poetic self. And now, as the last thing, I would like to show you my recent film, The Book of Flowers, a film devoted to gendered reproductive labor and the speculative fear of plant and human relationship, but also devoted to storytelling itself.
I'm going to speak of the past, yours and mine.
Sorry, but we need sound. Could someone help me? I don't know why it's not working. Worked before.
If anyone knows anything about this, please help me, because I have no idea.
How about this? Mute audio. Maybe now it will work. Wait.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Each
Oh, it's new to me too, so I haven't seen this one. Can we try? No.
We could mute the mic,
Mute the mic. You can do that.
but if we do this, maybe this will work.
Oh, what did I do?
Do you know, Tessa?
Oh, no.
On the laptop.
No, from the
Oh, sorry.
Want?
system. I haven't seen it.
It was working before.
Yeah.
Idea.
If you quit out, can you look at the settings on the Mac?
But we did just have it working, so what has changed?
Can you play it outside of the PowerPoint?
I
No.
have no idea.
I mean, it's coming out of somewhere, but can it just be put at its maximum volume? And then
But I guess it's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Oh, it's the machine. There's the machine.
No, we don't have any speakers here.
There's no laptop.
It's coming out of the mini Mac.
Pardon. Here.
Is there settings? Maybe I'll pull.
I'm going to
I'm just thinking that maybe it's the case.
We can't make the video sound work. It was working when we had the technician here before. But now it's not working to show the film. Do you have any idea why?
I'm thinking that maybe it's because of the screen sharing, I don't know.
Yeah. Like, I don't really know how to describe it. It's like you can hear it, but in a very, it's like it's coming
It's
out
like
of the
muted from the
computer,
computer, yeah.
but it's. Yeah. Yeah. Ah,
Yeah, should I
Okay.
just stop sharing? Or?
yeah, stop sharing. So what should we do? Yeah,
No.
share again, but without sound. Okay. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, I'll try that. Thank you. Is it that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's try that. Where's the PowerPoint? I don't know where it's
Yeah,
gone.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so
Okay,
try
so
that. Okay.
speak of the past.
Sorry.
Right.
And thanks for your patience. Sorry, I just want to enter the full screen mode here.
Like through. Oh. Like in PowerPoint.
Okay, we just show it like this. It's okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to speak of the past, yours and mine, each human's past, and the past of each one of the 370,000 species of flower that bloom every year. I will speak of the past we share with the flowers, because we have only one, just as we have one future. I will speak of want, misery, horror, desire, fantasy, and how they gave way to more. Want, misery, horror, desire, fantasy. This horror, desire, fantasy. For millennia, the arrow of time flew so slowly, humans barely noticed it moving. Our histories tell us that flower cups were enormous, large enough to serve as shelter for early humans. Humans were the main pollinators of flowers. Attracted by their intoxicating smells and nectar, naked human bodies functioned as the perfect tool for transferring sticky pollen between flowers. The cup, closing its petals at sunset around our ancestors' bodies, was both a place to rest and to make love. There was an intimate symbiosis between the two kingdoms. Male sperm could only be carried by the flower's nectar, a nectar which contained the flower's own spore. This spore settled in the placenta and waited to be born together with the child. For 9 months, it released hormones into the bloodstream of the mother-to-be, affecting her behavior. The female would become more risk-taking and solitary, travel for months before her labor, and dig a hole in moist soil to give birth to her baby and to the spore-containing placenta. This is how flowers spread and expanded their territory. For humanity, the epic journeys of expecting mothers became the source of the first myths. Often a flower that grew from the placenta of a famous woman later became the site of a cult, and a new settlement would grow around it. Mothers' journeys led to the invention of the first tools, digging sticks and stories. The fate of male humans was different. For thousands of years it was accepted as natural that they were eaten by flowers after sex. It was seen as a satisfying end, a natural conclusion of desire, much better than dying from hunger or war. The narrative of evolution has no aim, so I will refrain from using language that could suggest any determinism in the evolutionary story of the flowers. In our shared past, flowers gained most of their nutrition from the bodies of male human lovers, poisoned and dismembered in the cups. As print was invented and literacy rose, a new genre began to circulate, an ecstatic self-eulogy by the male lover-to-be. In the 17th century, an anonymous author published a treatise under the title The Book of Flowers, which presented a vision that shocked the world. He imagined he was spared by the hungry flower, but in exchange for his soul. Was it possible to change the course of biology? And if so, what would be the cost? Was it worth losing one's soul? Did hungry flowers lose their souls in the course of the evolutionary changes? Around the time of the anonymous publication, the steam engine was invented, powered by burning the wood of enormous flowers. Humans burned a considerable proportion of the flowers growing in the known world, greatly reducing the availability of breeding shelters. A dramatic decline in birth rate followed, especially among workers who had more difficulty accessing flowers, which in turn resulted in a near collapse of the supply chain. Slowly, humanity began artificially breeding plants, love flowers, energy flowers, and food flowers. The sizes of the flowers began to vary, as food and energy plants were designed to be smaller for ease of cultivation and production. Soon humans discovered that burning coal was far more energy efficient than burning flowers. The whole system experienced an enormous power boost, and technologies started to develop at a rapid pace. Humans learned how to use technology to reproduce outside of flowers. First, it was seen as a perversion to make love outside of a flower cup, a perversion that would lead to the collapse of society. But amid the extinction of the grand flowers and the rise of social media campaigns promoting the moving accounts of the first men to know their own children, sentiments started to shift. Humanity started to see out-of-flower insemination as a humanitarian necessity. The world as you know it, where males aren't devoured by plants, where tiny flowers serve as food, and where a couple doesn't need a spore to have a child, is new and still changing. In the past, technological and evolutionary shifts happened slowly. Each generation inherited a world which could be explained to them through accounts passed down from their mothers and grandmothers. Now, changes happen so fast that the world is as much a novelty to parents as it is to children. For millennia, humans used stories to preserve information and to transform their surroundings according to their needs. Alongside evolving bodies and other technologies, stories evolved at an ever faster pace, to a point where each new day required a new narrative, a new mouth, and a new device to tell it. Flowers grew us, and when we were grown, we cast them aside. But just as we use stories to master the flowers, what if at some point our story overwhelms us, leaving us captivated, speechless, and shrunken, as tiny as a daisy? Speechless, shrunken, captivated by a new story, as tiny as a daisy, as sweet as a raspberry. Speechless, shrunken, captivated. Speechless, shrunken, captivated. Speechless, shrunken, captivated. Speechless, shrunken, captivated. Speechless and shrunken, captivated. Speechless and shrunken, captivated.
Thank you. If there are any questions, please go ahead.
Microphone. Is it that?
The first part of my question is about I know the lecture wasn't about the process and more about the philosophical basis for your work. But I was wondering if there's something you could say that might give a bit of background to the process of your work. Because I know you mentioned it being computer generated, but to what extent, I guess?
Yeah, is it a question about my work in general or about the film that you just seen, The Book of Flowers?
Maybe just about the flowers. But
Yeah, okay. So this is actually the first film that I created using AI-based stable diffusion engine. The process of making this work was quite interesting, in my opinion, because it is in a way a found footage film, because all the takes that you have seen were prompted by text, but also by found footage material of time-lapse flower shots from the 40s and 50s. So these were also like kind of early time-lapse videos of plants. And I used these videos to generate a completely new material that was designed by text prompts. So in a way, as I said, it is a found footage film, but at the same time, there is not a single frame from the original material. And I find this process interesting mostly because of the question of the rights to the material, it is also thinking about how this technology will be developing in the future, becoming more and more perfect. It will be possible to make a remake of any film without actually like including any original material of the film. So how will it be determined in the future? Who holds the rights to the film, and yeah, what is the extent of the manipulation that we can do to this original material?
thank you. Sorry, the second part of my question is, how do you respond to, I guess, accusations or criticism that like a computer-generated way of making work is either accelerating us towards what you were just talking about with movies, or removes, I don't know, I guess some of the poetic aspects of making art? Because that's a criticism I don't know if I agree with, but it's something that I've heard quite often.
Well, I don't. Obviously, I don't agree with this criticism. Otherwise, I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be using this technology. I think that, of course, there is a. You should be very critical of AI tools, and as artists, we should be also very critical of AI tools using the work of other artists. But at the same time, I think that it is also just another tool, you know, and the same as we are using Photoshop, or the same as we are using different software that also can be controversial in some ways. I think that I see working with artificial intelligence as just a way to expand my palette as an artist, and I'm definitely not an accelerationist, but I don't think that using artificial intelligence related artistic tools leads to explosion of like all of these destructive processes in technosphere. I think that these destructive processes in technosphere are related to very different maneuvers of mostly techno-oligarchy. So it is, I think that it is wrong to blame artists for accelerating these processes. These processes are accelerated in a very conscious way by people who gain profit from technology.
Thank you.
Can you hear me okay? Good. I'm interested, you have this philosophical component that is really interesting, and then the material, like the horses and the flowers and the faces, I'm interested like how these things connect to you or how you've come to them and how they connect to this kind of existential question that you're asking.
Yeah, look, I mean, thanks for the question. I think that they don't really connect apart from just being my work. So I just needed some illustration for my for this lecture, and then I decided to just use different stills from my work, which I should have explained at the start of the lecture. But of course, all my work is done with all of this theoretical thinking at the back of my head. So yeah, I could try to analyze each of these images in the context of the exchange of information and affect. But of course, we don't have time for this. What I can say is that as an artist, I'm working very much with affect, and I'm working very much with a different sound and visual stimuli that induce certain emotions in the viewer. And this is how I can position myself in the within this exchange of emotions. So as I mentioned in the talk, I understand any work of art as a unit of stored emotions, and my works are especially bound to this idea of operating within the affective sphere. So I would say that I'm quite far from conceptual art in this regard. I'm trying to operate closer to what is, for example, happening in cinematic filmmaking, so more on the emotional side of the relationship between the artist and the viewer, and this emotional reaction of the viewer is an intrinsic part of my work. Thanks.
Other questions?
Just following on from what you were saying just now, those 3 words you had at the end of that piece were quite a stark example of what you were just talking about, because very much, I can't remember the words, but I felt reduced and immobile and miniaturized myself at the end of watching that. And I guess what I was experiencing was my position as a person in the audience, having succumbed to, the onslaught, the accelerated story of that work. reminds me also of the piece with the sun. I can't remember the title, which we have seen in Melbourne, and it's been one of your most famous works, where you're also very much addressing the audience a lot in the work, pinning us down, maybe. Can you speak a little bit about that too? I guess you have been speaking about that, but maybe a bit more about how you set things up for the audience.
Yeah, thank you for your very kind words, Sonia. Yeah, so it is. I think that's each of my pieces, and the new sun, the work that you mentioned as well, is in each of my pieces. I'm trying to create this kind of like a space that would have an effect, like a strong effect on the viewer through some manipulation. So at the same time, I'm trying to break this manipulation, and I think that this is the tool that I'm very much using in the new sun, where I'm creating this space that would kind of suck in the viewer, but every now and then I'm breaking the charm through the joke, or through just like a dramatic change of music, or actually through like making the viewer realize that they were actually tricked into a certain emotion. And I think that this is an important part of my work. I'm not really manipulating the viewer to the full extent. There is always a twist in the film where the viewer is supposed to realize that they were being manipulated. Because obviously manipulative technologies are not something that is in any way ethical. And even though we can use them as artists, I think that it is also important to show to the viewer that they have been manipulated. And this manipulation can happen through, having very cute characters, like I do. This manipulation can happen through the usage of certain sounds that are reminiscent of well-known melodies, or they can happen from the movement of they can arise in the movement of the body of the viewer through the space of the exhibition. So sometimes the physical movement affects the body of the viewer in a way that it creates a certain emotion. And of course, affect is strongly related to the body. There is no affect that is separated from the body of the human or any other being. Yeah, this is how I try to balance all of these methods that I'm using with basically dissociation, that is also part of the piece.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Agnieszka. Let's give a huge round of applause for our guest.
Thank you.
And thank you all for your questions, and thank you for your generosity of spending time unpacking your practice for us today. And also thank you for everyone that's travelled from afar today, who was not on campus today. Just a short note, we have an artist talk tonight by Aaron Christopher Rees and Christina May Carey as part of their Gemini show, which is in there last week at the Fiona City Maya Gallery tonight. So that kicks off from 5 o'clock. Everyone is welcome. And also there's the Art Forum back to regular programming with David tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much for having me.